Are you a sports fanatic? You get off on college football, college basketball, the NBA, the NFL, golf, ping pong, and sports betting. Wait, back up. Ping pong? What the hell? This is Jump Shots from the Goal Line.
Watch out! He's got getting away from the top speed.
Hot takes and hilarious banter on everything from college football to the NBA and everything in between, except ping pong. And we're not just flying solo. We're bringing in some heavy hitters from the world of sports. Journalists, players, legends. You name it, we've got them. Why should they have all the fun?
Bryant for the win. Bang!
This is Jump Shots from the Goal Line. Where every episode is a slam dunk. And now your hosts, Jonathan Dugan and John Henningsen.
What is up, everybody? Big weekend, arguably probably the biggest weekend in, I'm not going to say sports because Super Bowl is pretty huge, but it's up there. I'd say top three for sure. This was a fun one, dude. First round matchups, March Madness, a little kooky, a little wild. Bad news for you if you chose to follow our bracket. John chose not to, and John, you did pretty well, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, basically fading the bracket was the play. I knew once we put this on record, there's no way any of that was going to pan out. It was a mixed bag, though. I don't think look, that's just it's tough. I think it's absolutely, I mean, it's honestly like if you're betting on it, you're kind of stupid. You're crazy. It's called March Madness, and we're like, I don't know, I guess. And yeah, I think one thing that did definitely work for a little bit, though, was just simply fading some of those plays that you like think about it a little longer. Your gut sits and you're like, I don't know what we're doing, man. I don't know. Me and Dugan are just nodding along to each other like, yeah, because they're colors or whatever. They're cool. But yeah, so it was a great weekend, though. No doubt about it. It's always a great weekend, and it is definitely, without a doubt, a great sports weekend, if not the greatest.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it. Especially like that first slate of games. There's always somebody always messes up. And this weekend we had quite a bit of folks. I was looking at I think the stats earlier. Obviously the Pac-12 is just dead. It's just Arizona, which
it's a good first day or day,
carry the torch.
First 2 days, if you will.
Yeah.
And then it all fell apart in a round of 32. Yeah.
Yeah, carry the torch, Arizona, on your way out, as we all knew would happen. SEC, tough pill to swallow. You guys are not a basketball conference, turns out, right? Mountain West, you called it. I gave a little bit too much love to the Mountain West when it came to San Diego State and stuff. And you even said, you were like, are we sure about the Mountain West? I thought they were a great conference. Turns out there's nobody left. They're not dancing anymore. But the ACC looking real strong. They got, I think, 4 teams in the Sweet 16.
That's right.
Big Ten. Hey, Purdue, look at you guys doing the thing.
It's just Purdue. Illinois is looking good, but it's been dominated by Purdue.
Yeah, and then the rest of the brackets just kind of all over the place. UConn looks like everything we thought they would. They look like trouble, bro. But overall, that opening weekend, I'm going to pull it up really quick, actually. So if you're not watching, if you're listening to this, my apologies, but a visual aid never hurt nobody. Let's go through it real quick, John. We got a few upsets right off the bat, right? Yale over Auburn. Let's talk about that game real quick. That was a dirty one.
Yeah, I think what actually just did us in, if we're going back and just reflecting on our bracket, we gave a little too much respect to the SEC.
Yes, we did.
Because I think really Auburn and Kentucky were the ones that burned us. If you were listening and following along with us, I really think that's where the the heartburn kicks in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Ivy League again delivering with day one upset,
and it wasn't us this time. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't Arizona. So which I mean we're going to talk, I'm sure, extensively about Arizona, but I'm just going to keep feeding it in. I know what the people want, and everybody who's on Arizona's back because one time, look, it's going to happen when you're in the tournament every year. This is what happens for the naysayers, who I will again remind you, but we're like, oh, they had this run, and look, man, you guys cropped up a bunch of fake news. You attacked our guy, Sean Miller. You ran him out of the building. You tried to arrest DeAndre Ayton. You threw the FBI at us. And of course, we didn't have a couple recruits for a few years, but we're back. But yeah, it wasn't us this time. So good for Yale.
Yeah, dude, that game, it always seems like this, but like every March Madness, there's always some random future accountant that just goes haywire. And we're going to talk about some of the other ones, but this guy on Yale, the Greek guy, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name,
I got nothing.
but shout out to your wife's lineage, dude.
Exactly.
Just ballers. You know what I mean? Guy went out there just shooting it all over Bruce Pearl and the boys, which, by the way, we gave them a lot of love coming into March Madness because they did the damn thing in the conference tournament. If you want to just point to the fact that I was right, conference tournaments mean nothing. And I stood on that until we came to this stupid bracket fill out. And I was like, oh, they won their conference tournament. They won their conference tournament.
Yeah.
And I was a sucker. But dude, Auburn, just that's not who I expected to get bounced in the first set of games. I don't know about you.
No, that one was surprising. There's no doubt. That was absolutely surprising. San Diego State on the other part of that bracket, not surprising. They've been pretty proven over time. But yeah, Auburn was absolutely a surprise. But they're gone. We just have to let them go, Dugan. They're gone.
That they are. Then we had Mississippi State and Michigan State. I watched that game pretty closely. That was a fun one. Our dumbasses took Mississippi State because, again, we fell in love with the SEC. Tom Izzo is that guy, is he not? I mean, hey, he didn't beat North Carolina in the second round, but he's undeniable. The guy lives for March.
Yeah, he did win a game, no doubt. It is interesting that he's 0-5 versus North Carolina all the time. I mean, that's certainly something for North Carolina fans to hold on to. March, has been very good to Izzo, and he has a lot of good wins. And I mean, I think that a lot of the talk around Michigan State throughout the year, and again, it's crazy when you go from we have no idea. We get this little piece of paper. We do it on the internet now. This bracket comes out. You start trying to go through. And I'm telling you, by the end of this, I'm going to have a PhD in college basketball. I'm going to be so ready to fill out a bracket April 28th. I'm going to be so good at it.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, Izzo did it again until he didn't. And North Carolina's, though everybody's saying the weakest number one, sort of coming into it, has at minimum held serve. So good on them, but I am definitely interested in that game versus Alabama. I mean, that should be up and down, and probably a really good indicator for those of you that are Cats fans. And not that we're jumping ahead, but obviously we'll all have an eye on that game. I mean, we're going to have an eye on that game. I mean, of course, it's of extreme interest to us. I think that'll be following our game, but we'll certainly be watching that one because we played Alabama. We know that they want to go up and down. Nate Oates has a good reputation. Hubert Davis, this will be a second, solid run after a down year after the championship run or the, second place finish, if you will. But I mean, look, I think everybody kind of I think people were sleeping on this Western bracket a little bit. Everybody kind of said, oh, this is these teams, who knows, can't trust any of these guys, but it's pretty much been true to form.
Yeah, I think these games in the West have arguably been probably some of the best. I mean, look at Clemson. We're going to play them this Thursday. They go out, they beat New Mexico. They destroy New Mexico, by the way, who was looking really good again in their conference tournament. They get just smacked in the face. And then they go out and beat freaking Baylor, dude, who we had going pretty far. I thought Baylor was kind of like a sleeper pick because they always are. Nah, Clemson, the stink of Debo or Dabo, whatever. It doesn't matter, bro. He does not penetrate that locker room. Pause. But hey, they're playing for the right NIL. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then at the bottom of that bracket, Arizona. Do you want to hold off on Arizona though?
No, we can speak on it real quick. I mean, hey, Long Beach State played us tough there for a half. They started slapping the floor, yelling defense, and then the Cats got annoyed and turned it on. And wasn't much to write home about after that. Dayton, I don't know. I feel like both games we haven't seen the true Arizona. Am I wrong in thinking that? I feel like we've kind of maybe been 75% of the way there and just kind of taking our foot off the gas a little bit. First half with Long Beach, and then kind of the first half with Dayton, at least at the end of the first half, right? We were smoking them and then let off the gas a little bit. It's just kind of who Arizona is, though, I think. You know what I mean? We've seen it all year.
Yeah, they're mixing and matching to try to find lineups, I think, still a little bit. So I mean, like, which is I think a good, it's like a gift and a curse. So I think there's a lot to be learned from those first couple of games. I mean, I have to say that the going back to Arizona Long Beach State, so sort of taking it one at a time. Long Beach State, I think there was a lot of nerves, right? I mean, you're coming off of there's a lot of ghosts, demons that they were fighting to get through that. I mean, and I really believe that, right? And I think once they kind of got over that hump, like they got backed into a corner, they actually responded, which is where I think some of the pedigree of some of the guys that they brought in the transfer portal really mattered.
Yeah.
And then they really stepped on the gas and then they were fine. So like I think they kind of did what they needed to do in terms of just like getting through that game. The real story to me there in that game, I've never seen Nets hold on to the ball so long in my entire life.
Yeah.
Can you I mean, have you ever seen ball what was going on?
Yeah, it was weird. Did you see that Karnowski, former Gonzaga big man, who's now an Arizona assistant before the Dayton game, was like stretching the nets out? Oh man.
I mean, I know Utah's known for soaking, but that ball was just sitting in there forever, dude. It was ridiculous. I mean, I've never seen, and to have someone else have to shake it out like that just to get it done. There's so many. I'm writing a lot of bad jokes here, but you get my point. That was crazy with the Nets. Moving on to the Dayton game, I thought that was like pretty darn good Arizona. I mean, I thought there was, Richaun Holmes, I thought was a really nice player. I think he presented some points of interest in terms of like the way we had to guard him. They moved in matchups a lot, seeing KJ Lewis on him, seeing Biggs on him. They were trying, kind of throwing everything at him. And I think they did enough to bother him and they did enough to make a run. And Jaden Bradley was awesome. Jaden Bradley
he won us that game.
Unbelievable to me. So, I take the good and the bad. You got one good Kylan game, one good Jaden game. There's a possibility where they both play well, but maybe they don't have to. Maybe we're starting to see Bradley emerge as like the guy who's going to finish out games or at least play the lion's share of the minutes. So I don't know. I'm just happy, man. Like I just think you have to get to the Sweet 16, and then you just have to hope you outshoot Clemson in the next round, and then so on and so on and so on down the line.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I mean, though, is like we haven't even had a real complete game yet, right? Like you said, Kylan balled out in the first game, Bradley balled out in the second game. I would love against Clemson if just the entire backcourt plays well, like for a full, 2 halves, go out there and kick ass. But I think they're on their way to that. I think you're right. A lot of it is nerves. They're seeing ghosts of Princeton past. I think they're seeing some ghost of just some past tremors in the, even back to the Sean Miller days, right? But now we're back where Arizona belongs. We are in the Sweet 16. And I don't think I hesitate to say this because I know how Big Pod works. I'm going to jinx the shit out of this. But I don't think you could ask for like a better opportunity to get to the next round than playing Clemson.
Agree. I think we got the matchup draw that you would hope. I mean, right, short of a really high seed breaking through. It wasn't Baylor. And I wasn't afraid of Baylor. I think it was going to be an up and down game, and then just like let's see who outshoots who kind of thing.
Yeah.
With Clemson, I think we have a decided talent advantage. I mean, I think it is right. I don't think anybody's looking at Clemson and thinking that they have the talent level of Arizona. Now, it doesn't mean that we're so far superior that we shouldn't take Clemson seriously or that you shouldn't respect Clemson. Blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I think this is a really good case. And I got to tell you, man, I went down and watched that Dayton game at General Ben's old school.
Yeah.
I went down there and did it, live in like with the Wilds. And this town rocks, dude. People love Arizona basketball. And people just, if you're not from here, like you won't understand it. But it is crazy when the whole town just absolutely bleeds for this school and for this basketball program. And I mean, sometimes you take it for granted or you forget or you don't remember what it's like when it's really going and the vibes are good. And that place was rocking, man. I mean, just absolutely rocking. At 9 a.m. couldn't get a seat and the place was absolutely just ruckus. So just way to go, Cats fans. I mean, this city rocks.
here's the thing about that, right? Is like we're in a city that doesn't have a professional sports team, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
all we've had to rely on for the last 60 years are the Cats. And so you have a lot of old blood mixed with a lot of the new blood. A lot of people stay in Tucson because it's kind of an up and coming town, I think, as it is. So you just have a lot of alumni. You have a lot of young blood, a lot of old blood, whatever mixing together. And like since we don't have that pro team, this is it, dude. This unit, like this university is the lifeblood of this city, and everybody shows out for them. So I agree with you, man. I didn't unfortunately get to go watch it in person like you, but I can only imagine like how sick that would have been, especially on University Boulevard. Like, dude, that you're right. That is taking it old school. That's the way to do it. Like if you're a Cats fan and you've never watched a game, you don't even have to go to McHale. Like go to University Boulevard,
Yep.
get amongst the crazies, and you will see what happens. I've watched like football games on University. I've watched basketball games there, and it is insane. Then you also get a little bit of that, that liquid courage, a little bit of liquid fun, and it makes it even better. So, yeah, I feel good about Clemson. I think they played their best game against Baylor. I think they're going to have a tougher time against Arizona because I think we just match up really well. I mean, Ballo is huge. He's playing pretty well. The guards have both had their turns. I think it's about time Caleb Love really pops off because first half Caleb Love against Dayton was phenomenal. Second half Caleb Love against Dayton was less phenomenal. But if they can get a complete game, I think there's not too many teams in this tournament outside of maybe like UConn that I think Arizona can't go toe to toe with.
And that's why I didn't hit like the Dayton performance to me was actually quite comforting, right?
Yeah,
Because it was the Jaden Bradleys, it was KJ Lewis giving meaningful minutes, it was
yeah,
Keyshot stepping up in times, it was Caleb actually like ramping it down a little bit because in the Long Beach State game, he just kept, I mean, and maybe he felt comfortable and he's going to chuck when he wants to chuck. And,
we
who
know
am I to
that.
tell
Yeah,
him, like, what's the record for missed threes? I don't care, dude, break it. I'm never going to tell Caleb not to shoot.
no,
But, but when he does put a governor on it, right, when he has it in check and some of the other guys can kind of move the ball around a bit more and we can see other guys shine, it's fine. And I mean, it was a little. I mean, I think some folks were a little panicked about the way we handled the press at times. Look, man, they got us for a minute, and then it turned into bucket after bucket after bucket. And
yeah,
Jaden Bradley is a one-man press break, and it's
yeah,
wonderful to see. And I'm like, I now know the system. It's get it to Jalen Bradley and just wait for a spinning layup and just go ahead and count it. So I don't know. I think just like guys stepped up. Krivas had some really nice minutes. So I
yeah.
thought it was like a really well-rounded performance. And I think like when, the chips are down or when you really need it, I think you're going to see some of those other guys step up sort of as needed. But we got a really nice rounded performance. And as Pella will tell you, man, he likes the shots he takes. He feels he feels good about all of it and sleeps well at night. So I just kind of like where their headspace is at. I think you're in a good vibe. And I think now like that they got through the pressure scenarios, being in the Sweet 16, which is Arizona's God-given birthright. Now it's time to play basketball.
Yeah, dude, this team is deep. You know what I mean? Like I think in years past, we haven't had the depth on the bench, especially athletically. And like you mentioned it, right? Jaden Bradley goes out there. I think I could start for so many of these teams in this tournament.
Yeah, 100%.
Doesn't get any Pac-12 six man of the year love, which hey, we've already talked about that. But hey, we got him off the bench. We have, like you said, KJ Lewis off the bench, Krivas off the bench. Like, there's not a whole lot of teams that are as deep as Arizona. So let's just hope that Thursday comes around. They don't take Clemson for granted because that's been a little bit of an issue this year as they kind of play down sometimes. But I think now that we're in the Sweet 16, we don't have to worry about that too much. I think every game they know it's do or die. So, they have to play like their freaking hair's on fire. So, yeah, man, great stuff from Arizona so far. Let's go over to the other side of the bracket, though, right? Nebraska, I want to talk about really quick because I did
These
talk to
guys.
our boy Chase. They're still on the schneid, dude. Like
I knew this was
unfortunately,
gonna happen, dude. I knew
they started strong too, bro. I don't know if you watched that game, but dude, they went
some
up by
bits, yeah.
double digits at one point. I literally like saw they were up by double digits. I was like, hell yeah, Chase is gonna be a happy man. Nebraska's gonna get one. I went and did something for like 30 minutes, came back, and they were down by double digits. I was like, what the hell happened? But yeah, dude, Nebraska just not about it. Then we have the PMT Bowl, the Wisconsin James Madison game. I don't even really want to talk about the game too much, and I don't want to give too much shine to like other content creators, whatever. But like you and I both mutually like PMT. The the PFT commenter, like just videos he was putting out of him being at that game in a suit because he just got back from a wedding and just yelling at fans and like being just a drunk idiot. That's what this whole tournament is about. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's what everything is about, but it's certainly a component of it, and that's definitely
I love
something
it.
that everybody should, embrace and and enjoy. And honestly, like not to just be commenters to PFT commenters, but clearly Big Cat was hurt, and I love
Oh,
it
dude. Yeah.
because, as I told you, Mister Cat, Frank Kaminsky ain't walking through that door.
Yeah.
Sam Decker ain't walking through that door. And so get out of here. Dude, Wisconsin, shut up, Wisconsin fans. I don't ever need to hear from you again. Literally saw a Wisconsin fan on the golf course today. He had a very mean look on his face and was tempted to give him a little chirp. I didn't because I'm classy. But I wanted to be like, hey, nice hat. How's that going for you? There was definitely a part of me. He didn't have to look like so angry. He could have looked more welcoming and just given the appropriate nod. But once you kind of give the guy a hi and they give you a nothing, you kind of want to give them a what's for once in a while. But anyways, I digress. Screw Wisconsin.
That game was great though. James Madison, dude, they talked about it during the game, the commentators, but like what a job. We talked about it last time. What a job that they're doing, The fact that like every sport, they are just killing it. We have a question from Jackson Schwartz. Did the Aggies lose? The Aggies did not lose against Nebraska, but yes, they did lose to Houston. Close game though. Good game.
Yeah, they were in that game. I mean,
yeah, almost did us a favor because again, Houston, I have a little bit of PTSD from a couple years ago. But yeah, Houston survives. They're going to play Duke. So I don't know who to cheer for in that game because Duke, speaking of James Madison, absolutely wiped the floor with James Madison. Like not even a close game.
Yeah, that was not a good game.
James Madison got their rocks off and then decided to pack it up and go back to Virginia. So yeah, tough one. Let's look at NC State. Is there a better guy to root for than big man at NC State?
No. To me, he's the star of the tournament so far.
Yeah.
If you've watched him, I mean, it's an absolute delight. It's like he ate Zion and then just started taking over his powers. He's awesome, dude. He's just like so light on his feet. He seems like a fun dude. Like I know he's given some interviews out there too. Which like I'm not rooting against any of these kids actually. So they're all likable, frankly. But he's particularly likable because who doesn't want to watch a big man just pirouetting in the post?
My favorite comment by him was I can't remember the player. He said he grew up idolizing, and it was like Michael Jordan or something, right? He's like, yeah, I grew up wanting to be like Michael Jordan, and then I grew into the same body as Zach Randolph. I was like, there we go. Embrace it, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you know who you are.
That's why that's like another reason why he's so perfect, though. He's like playing a beautiful post game that kind of feels forgotten a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you see it, and I don't know, maybe I'm, misspeaking for others. Maybe they all miss the post game, but I kind of tend to think that's a little bit of an old guy vibe where you're like, oh, post moves, baby. Yeah, that's exactly what the kids want. I just love watching a guy work in the post. Like, he's been freaking awesome to watch. As
somebody that, you've watched me play, I work out of the post quite a bit.
You stop lying to the people. This guy is taking step back fadeaways. He's like an absolute big man nightmare. He thinks he's 5'6".
No, I like working out of the post too. First of all right. There's a little bit of finesse to my game, sure, but hey, I like to throw it back a little bit too.
He likes to catch it to the post. That way, his step back's extra 3 steps, so he can get to that 3 ball.
I wish I had that big man's footwork though, because you're right. Like his footwork is phenomenal, and there is a little part of me because you and I talk about it all the time, like early 2000s, mid 2000s basketball, how much we miss the aesthetic of it. Part of that aesthetic was people like Zach Randolph, people like Tim Duncan, that just work out of the post, and there's something really pretty about that. So I appreciate him bringing it back. I was kind of hoping that Colorado would pull it off against Marquette, just so we could have the battle of two brutes, him and the former TCU guy that was on
Lampley.
Colorado. Yeah. That would have been fun. That would have just been two Titans going at it. But, Marquette played a really strong game. Marquette looks really good. They can shoot the ball. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, no, well, Marquette, yeah. I mean, they've been known for having guards for years. So you can almost just like close your eyes and know there's going to be a couple good, guards at Marquette. I will say, I got to give it to Colorado. They're going to end up with like multiple guys getting drafted from that roster, which isn't that foreign for Colorado. They like have talent, and then Tad just finds a way to be average. But they gave it at least, I would say, like of the other Pac-12 schools, although Oregon represented well too. A couple of schools look good. I mean, everybody wants to throw all the shade at the Pac, but what I will say is there's still no doubt talent coming out of it. I mean, it's just Colorado's dripping with talent. Ultimately, Marquette was the better though of the two.
Yeah, Pac-12 actually did have a pretty strong showing in the tournament. I mean, Washington State won their first round matchup, then they ended up losing to Iowa State, which, by the way, good game too for a large portion of that game. It doesn't reflect that 67 to, can't read on the small screen, but I think 56. That was all because of the free throws at the end of the game. I don't know did you watch that one?
No, not closely. Like that was definitely one I was not. Well, I mean, I didn't even really think like Washington State would really give them a close game. To be fair, more interesting to me though is that Illinois and like Terrence Shannon just continue to sort of tear. That Terrence Shannon guy, and I'm missing the other guard's name. It's like Demstad or Demson,
Yeah.
but they got some guard, and like again, just a couple of really good guards. Actually, nightmarishly in some regards, reminding me of the 2005 stuff. But not a problem for right now, so I'm not gonna freak out. But yeah, but there's no doubt Terrence Shannon's like absolutely on a tear, and man, they just, dude, when a guy gets hot in this tournament, it's always scary because you're just like, wait, is this guy just going to like show everybody he's a pro right now? Because, I mean, that's kind of what it takes, right? When the Carmelo Anthony doesn't get out of my head, the Kemba Walkers don't get out of my head, you always remember those guys that just sort of do this.
Napier.
Yeah, it happens. And so there's some candidates out there, and it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out, of course. Which, dude, we're getting to like, we missed out on a bunch of upsets. And I know that's been some of the chatter, although I feel like the people say that and then I don't even really hear anybody, like no one cares, right? Like you hope there's upsets, but no one really, really cares. And then at the end of the day, we end up with some really good games, like 1 versus 4s, 2s and 3s. That's all good basketball. So
yeah,
there's no wrong way to do the tournament, if you will.
No, yeah, because some years you have Butler in the championship against Duke, and that's really fun. You can get behind that all day. Then other years like this year where you just have a bunch of Titans going at it, and it's the best possible basketball. So let's talk about an upset real quick that we haven't touched on. Oakland and Kentucky, dude. Calipari. My God. What is it, the last 3 or 4 years? He hasn't made it out of the first week.
Yeah, he's struggling, and he's got a $30 million type of buyout problem. So I don't know, Kentucky fans. My understanding is they're pretty pissed, which seems to track.
Checks out.
Yeah, a lot of Pauls, but yeah, to Calipari, the only thing that makes me mad, and I know I sent it to you guys, but I ended up seeing a clip like after we record the podcast, and he's going like, well, I make these kids a lot of money. That's why kids keep coming here. It's like to go in the NBA. It's not really about winning championships. It's because these guys go on to make a lot of money. Devin Booker, John Wall, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But dude, when a guy's talking about that, I'm like, yeah, but you think Kentucky fans care about, I mean, like I do. I mean, personally, like there's a small part of me that like, I really do take pride in like Arizona players doing well in the NBA. I think that's part of it. And like you get to continue to follow these guys into the NBA. But you also want results for your college basketball team.
Yeah.
And that's been a big miss for Cal for quite some time now, especially at the level of a place and the expectation that Kentucky holds.
It's absolutely insane because like you and I picked Kentucky to go all the way to the championship game. And it's not because like you and I are like entranced by the brand of Kentucky. Like you and I really don't give a shit about that kind of stuff. But like they had so many guys on that team, right?
Yeah.
Like even if you watch that Oakland game, they had that one guard that just kept hitting shot after shot. The problem is they don't play a lick of defense, and that dude from Oakland, that white boy that you're seeing on every single like QuickBooks tax commercial and shit like that on social media now was just hitting 3 after 3 after 3 after 3. He hit 10 threes. Like it was incredible to watch. Like that guy, I don't think he even starts for Oakland, but like Kentucky
No, but
does
like, yeah, it's
Kentucky
weird.
did such a shitty job of defense that like he just caught fire and like that was enough to do it. And then I'll give Oakland credit, like they went and battled against NC State too. Like this is why I
Yeah.
love freaking March Madness, dude. Like who picks Oakland to do anything? Not this podcast. And dude, they went out there and battled.
No, and as many people found out Oakland's from Michigan.
Yeah,
So
not
do
from
that math.
California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Figure that one out.
But hey, did you see that coach too has been there since like 1983?
Yeah. And he just looks like a middle school gym coach. And he's like, yeah, we just grind, we roll the ball out and see what happens, man. Next question. I mean, yeah, no, he was like a fun guy actually, but I respected his demeanor, his approach of just very casual, like Oakland loves me, I love Oakland. There's no way I'm ever going,
Yeah.
that guy's gonna die there.
Yeah, I love the story too that they told on the during the game where I guess the week before he won his conference tournament, he does his radio show at some bar every week and he has to pay for his drinks every time.
Exactly. That's exactly what he looked like.
And then he wins a conference tournament and they give him a thing of like I think he either got a free hot dog or free like fries. And then they're like, "Oh, well, now he's beat Kentucky. He's going to get free drinks for life." I'm like, dude, this is this guy's life. Like he's having to pay for his own drinks at his radio show. Like what the hell?
I like that he's having drinks at his own radio show. Good for that guy. That's the beauty of coaching in Oakland, Michigan, or whatever.
Is it in Oakland, Michigan? Is that really?
No, I'm pretty sure I just made that up. Yeah, that's probably not a thing.
Yeah, ask your wife. She'll probably know. But no, but the thing that did kind of piss me off about Oakland was they beat Kentucky, and that white kid was like, "By the way, we're not a Cinderella." Like when he said that, I knew they were going to lose the next game because I was like, no, dude. You save that line for when you're going to like the Elite Eight. All right. You've won a few games. You pocket them. You're looking real good. I get it. You beat Kentucky. Big name. But come on, you got to hold off, dude. You got to hold off on that line.
Yeah. He kind of seems a little cheesy to me, to be honest. But, he got the win. So good for him. It was a nice little run. Make a couple bucks off of it.
Yep.
All good.
Then we got Purdue. They're still doing Purdue things. It's seemingly nobody can stop the big guy, Zach Edey. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, they played Grambling State and they played Utah State. I guarantee neither one of those teams, now that we have watched it, we both know. But like going into that, nobody's going to have an answer for a 7'4" guy that just works out of the post, right? Like you don't either have the athletes or you don't have the size. Now they're about to go up against Gonzaga. That'll be a more interesting game. Speaking of Gonzaga, I for sure thought they were going to get beat in the first round somehow, some way. Played really strong against McNeese State. I for sure thought that they were going to lose to Kansas, so much that I had them in a parlay losing to Kansas outside Michigan State winning. Shows you how much I know about gambling on this stupid shit. But they waxed the floor with Kansas, and now they're going to go up against Purdue. How are you feeling about that matchup?
Look, I didn't even think. I mean, first of all, shout out like Mark Few. What is it like? They say I'm gonna probably get it wrong. 7 straight years in the Sweet 16. Like he's basically doing Izzo stuff, right? So
yeah,
we should probably start putting a little more respect on his name. But they were down, right? They didn't even win the WCC. Like St. Mary's wins the conference, so you're kind of like, all right, well, how good is this Gonzaga team? Because even some of these really good Gonzaga teams, which obviously though, there's a lot going on in terms of the way we remember them or misremember them, because they're making the Sweet 16 every year. So we shouldn't have been talking about them then. We should be talking about them now. And now that they buried Kansas, who apparently Bill Self's seems a little checked out on this team. But as we all know, Bill Self's headed to go get his Coronas. It's fine. He's chill. And I don't know, man. I think now this game's really interesting, which I wouldn't have said initially. But certainly, as you mentioned, Purdue really, I mean, what have they shown us with Utah State and Grambling State? I don't know. That's not showing me much because I don't really understand anything about those teams. Another one of my guesses. But I'm much more interested in this matchup now. Gonzaga seems to have a head of steam, and now we'll see what Purdue's really made of, and we'll probably have a lot of talk about how Zach Edey's being officiated.
Yeah, that's always a fun conversation.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bill Self, and it made me think. I have two thoughts on head coaches really quickly. We already talked about Kentucky, but did you see today that Calipari said, yeah, next year we won't be going to the Bahamas. We're just going to be locked in all summer and grinding. First of all, are we blaming them losing to Oakland for going to the Bahamas this past summer? Like, okay, stop it, Calipari. That guy just really needs to just shut up because, like you mentioned earlier, he just says the dumbest things. And then Bill Self, like you mentioned, a little checked out. He straight up admitted to that. He said,
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, I was already thinking about next year because we've had so many injuries. Like these coaches, bro, I swear to God, they get to these positions, and I'll give it to them, right? Calipari and Bill Self have both won national championships. So I guess they've kind of earned it.
Sure.
But like they just say whatever the hell they want without any repercussions. It's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah, so there's like two things happening there. Where like one, I totally respect it because like your point, like yeah, I mean say whatever, and it's kind of funny, right? Bill Self's like, yeah, this team, I've been done for a month, bro. Couldn't wait to pull the ripcord on this, which is hilarious, and I appreciate his candor. But also, like at the end of the day, when Bill Self leaves the game because it's passed him by and he starts blaming the kids, blah 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 blah. Remember, he's a petulant child, and he's always been a petulant child. And these guys are all self-serving, and they're no better or any different than the players. They're all out here for a buck. So, two things can be happening simultaneously. Bill Self, kind of a fun vibes guy if you just like following college basketball and like that, good old boy who's been hanging around. But also probably at the end, we'll probably be saying some dipshit things, and we'll have to hold him accountable to them at that time.
Dipshit things, I love it.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, and then we look at Oregon. You mentioned Oregon earlier, but they did beat South Carolina, who was a hot team going into the tournament. Then I thought they played Creighton really, really tough for about 75% of the game. And then Creighton just could not miss, which was absolutely insane to watch. Creighton looks really, really good.
Yeah, the high-end version of Creighton, like a lot of these teams that are left. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think when you look around this bracket, there's just a lot of teams whose high end is still very good. I do think there's a lot of people saying, and I think I would, fall into that camp of like, I think there's UConn kind of in their own place, which it's kind of hard to shake that they're killing everybody after they killed everybody last year. But then there's like 8 or 9 teams that, like realistically, like if they're hot and they're making shots, like can compete with anybody. And I think Creighton falls in that category.
Yeah, they just have a lot of really good, like fundamentally sound basketball players, which leads me to their matchup with Tennessee, who, by the way, Tennessee went and beat Texas a lot closer at the end than I thought it was going to be. But they look good too. Dalton Connect, I've been saying it for a while, very, very good player. That's going to be a very, very intriguing matchup. Creighton, Tennessee. If Creighton can find a way to slow down Connect, they can probably pull it off. But Tennessee is a very, very good team too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that struggle would give me pause if I'm, a Tennessee fan, but at the same time, could be matchup driven. Maybe Texas is better than we thought, and we shall see. But that's another very, very good game. We get a bunch of good games. I mean, that's the nice thing about when you don't have a bunch of 10 and 11 seeds hanging around. Creighton, Tennessee is going to be a very good basketball game, like many of the other games that are on the slate.
Yeah. The one thing that we haven't talked about that I did want to bring up since we are based in Arizona is how about them Lopes, right? GCU, like, dude, my wife does not care about watching basketball in the least, okay? But I got her to sit down and watch GCU play against St. Mary's, and she went and watched them against Bama. So they're winning in that department. Wife graduated from GCU back in October, so that was kind of cool. A lot of people don't think they're a real school. I can attest. I've been on campus. I've been to a graduation. They are a real school. There's some things behind that school, though, that are a little fishy. I will agree to that. But, man, what a cool story GCU is, though, because they've only been D1 since, like, 2014, and they're already better than ASU.
Can you explain the GCU thing to me? So, I mean, I'm not going to ask you to explain all of GCU to me. But I guess like I'm trying to
You want me to get into their religious beliefs?
I'm not going to get into that. Like, I'm not even going to touch that at all. So, like, just throw that out. What makes me laugh about like GCU pushback is, and like I heard a guy say today, and I love this guy, but he the other day, and he goes, "It's like I just don't like that they're like a for-profit university." But in like
They're
my
a
head,
publicly traded university, dude.
yeah. And so this is crazy. Like, don't get me wrong, this is crazy. But at the same time, I'm like, it's not as if anything that's going on at these D1 schools isn't like a for-profit venture in some regard, or
Oh
like they're
yeah.
not trying to, I mean, so I don't know. I just find it interesting. I'm always like, what is the like Duke isn't big business or Bama isn't big business or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'm not really sure why I'm supposed to be more mad at GCU for that specific reason. If we peel back the onion, I'm sure there's some things, but I think we find that everywhere. I would just say just lay off on GCU. Like they're just trying to make a couple bucks.
I get it though. I mean, I think most because they're a private school, right? Like technically, like I think most private schools are inherently for profit, but they're not publicly traded. I didn't even know this while my wife was going to the school. I didn't realize they were publicly traded. And then I saw the graphic like yesterday or today where like as their tournament, like they're doing well in the tournament, the stock price was going up. And
Yeah,
I
I
was
mean,
like, that's a little weird, I mean, hey,
it is a little weird that your wife's test scores were affecting the stock price. I mean, that is a unique experience, certainly, but I guess I'm just like I don't have the energy to hate GCU for those reasons. I guess is
no,
all I'm saying. Yeah,
it is
or I
impressive
don't
though
get
what
it.
they've
Maybe
done
I'm just an
though.
idiot. I could be a fool. So
It is impressive what they've done though in 10 short years. Like I will say a lot of people are clowning like a lot of the fans or whatever, like, oh, these people look like psyops. They don't even look like real fans.
yeah, of course.
I'm pretty sure they are real fans. Like I've been on campus, like there are real people there, like young kids. They already have a better, like and stronger support system than ASU basketball. So I'm just gonna keep hammering in that joke because it's true. That was impressive, but also just the players on that team, like the kid, he has two last names. I'm trying to remember what his name is.
I
Like
know.
Tryon Grant Foster. I think I pulled it out. I think that's what it is.
It feels right.
Yeah. He's just super good, by the way. Like without even going to his backstory, that's an NBA player. Like he is very good. But the guy literally like his heart stopped 16 months ago. Like had two heart surgeries and now he's out there hooping, getting GCU past St. Mary's, who was no pushover. Real quick though, we gotta show this. GCU is a better basketball program than ASU will ever be. Yes, back to A Ray. Yes, they are. I agree with you, pal. But yeah, dude, like they were super impressive. They were balls to the wall against St. Mary's. It kind of backfired against Alabama a little bit, but they still made that a hell of a game against a good Alabama team.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, in general, what they've done in 10 years is impressive. They have Jerry Colangelo, right, backing that program, and so it makes sense. Like, but everything they're doing they're more invested than Arizona State is in anything that they're doing right now.
Yeah.
Outside of, which by the way, Arizona State just copying GCU's model to try to get more students, more tuition, more blah blah blah. Which is why I have a hard time making the connection all the time. But you're right. I mean, Grand Canyon is now second best basketball program in the state. I had some friends going like, "Hey man, I would root for them to kind of go to a Final Four," and I was like, "Let's not get crazy. Let's first things first, guys. First things first."
I will say this: Grand Canyon does have an athletic director, so that is one big step ahead of little brother there in Tempe.
Can you imagine?
I know, just insane. But yeah, that's the tournament so far. I guess really quickly we'll go through just the matchups. We already talked about some of them. But let's look at it real quick. UConn, San Diego State. That's a matchup from last year, right?
Yeah, I think so. And then, yeah, I think so. And it's going to be a grind.
Yeah, it is. I still have UConn pulling it out because they're just destroying worlds right now. That big white kid they have is just supremely athletic. Like I enjoy watching him for obvious reasons. Just gives me a little bit of hope. But yeah, I think they're definitely going to pull it out.
Same. Continue to chalk there. Yeah.
Then we go down Illinois, Iowa State. This is going to be just lightning in a bottle, right? Like you mentioned it earlier, that guard play in Illinois is insane. But Iowa State's got some guards too.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if Illinois can keep pushing, just because I think they're an entertaining brand of basketball. A lot of the math nerds like Iowa State, and they were kind of a hot pick coming into the tournament. They sort of fit into some of those analytics boxes that kind of project that you can be very successful in this tournament. So I'm curious of just like raw guard play versus mathelytics or whatever you want to call it.
Athletics.
Yeah, I would lean. I would just be interested to see Illinois keep pushing. I'll just say that.
I will say, seeing Iowa State be this good does make me a little nervous going into the Big 12 next year, because when I thought about the Big 12, I thought about Kansas, thought about Baylor, thought about TCU, Houston. Never once did I consider Iowa State, and I don't know why I didn't, other than that they're in freaking Iowa. But they are a very strong basketball team pretty consistently.
Yeah, for sure. They've definitely had their runs like over time. I always go back to Jamal Tinsley and Marcus Fizer. It's all I can think about when I think of Iowa State. Ultimately, though, it's got to be UConn coming out of that bracket, and we'll have time to talk about it there. I mean, it may not be. I'd be happy if it's not, because I would like that Slayer to go, but it's got to be UConn.
Yeah. Then North Carolina and Alabama. This is tough, dude. They both have their flaws. I don't know where to go with this one. What are you thinking?
I just think the opportunity to see Arizona versus North Carolina, who I think are very similar in many regards. I think it's been that way for a long time. They're traditionally programs that like to push the ball up and down the court, Sean Miller excluded. And I think there's like just some great matchups there. When you talk about Bacot versus Ballo, right? When you talk about RJ versus Love, like there's just some really interesting things going on there. So I think aesthetically and just for the fans, like I would just be rooting to see Arizona versus North Carolina. And then, of course, you know where my heart is. And, of course, you know, like we're not bracket busters, but we did pick the Cats to this point. And there's no way we're backing down now.
Yeah, we're doing well there. I will say Alabama with Nate Oates. Wifey was watching the GCU Alabama game, and she was just in shock that Nate Oates is their head coach. She's like, that guy looks like a Sunday pastor. Like, just very much looks like he's from Alabama. And then I saw that clip of him looking like dead in the eyes while doing an interview, and like he's a scary guy. I don't know, man. I get a weird vibe from Nate Oates. So
you think Greg Burns hires scary guys?
I know, weird, huh? Greg Byrne. I did see something funny, by the way. Message board warriors we're going to get to, and this isn't on Message board warriors, but somebody on the ASU ASU like 247 page said that they should just go out and hire Greg Byrne. He's an alumni. Just go get him. I was like, do you really want Greg Byrne right now? Do you?
I'm not sure you do. And buddy, also you're not getting Greg Byrne.
No, he's not leaving Alabama for Arizona State.
That's not how that works.
No, but even then, I don't know if you really want him. Trust me.
Doesn't age well.
We already talked about Creighton and Tennessee. We already talked about Purdue, Gonzaga, NC State, Marquette. We can hit on really quickly because we kind of talked about them individually. But I think it's going to be Marquette. To be honest with you, I've watched both of these teams. And as much as I love Big Guy and NC State, Marquette plays as a team really well. And they just got shooters, bro. It's crazy.
They just seem relentless a little bit, you know. I think they're buying into, you know, what they got going with Shaka, and they just seem. They're just give me that like crazy guard, but I'm always gonna love guards in this. And like if you give me guards that I'm just kind of starting to learn and to trust, and Marquette has that for me.
That white kid that they have, the point guard that was out for a while, he was giving it to Colorado, bro. Like they could not stop him going to his left.
And they're still just working him in. I know that's the thing, like you mentioned. So yeah, it's been they look sharp to me.
You want to talk about aesthetics, by the way, like seeing Shaka Smart. And then on the other sideline, Tad Boyle. My God, you couldn't have two different people.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, holy hell.
That's a character. Keep him in the game. Just keep him away from me.
Yeah, and we already kind of talked about Houston, Duke. I think it's still going to be Houston. Duke is playing a lot better now, but just strictly on vibes, I'm going to go with Houston.
Yeah, they're proven. I mean, and I honestly, I don't think there's, you know, I am starting to just look at every team, like get them out of here if I don't want to see them. I don't really want to see these teams again. Like Duke was a very good and up for the game, and I know we beat them earlier in the year. But look, it's still a really talented squad. So, you don't want to see a ton of talent on the court. Houston's just a nightmare. I mean, they're just tough. So, I don't really want to see either of his team. So, the hope would be that they're both not getting into the Final Four, and we don't have to see any of them ever.
Yeah, but when you look at it, whoever wins that game has to play NC State or Marquette. It's probably going to be whoever wins that Houston Duke game, if we're being honest with ourselves.
No, I would lean that way too. Without having watched the next game, that would be my lean as well.
Which is gross, but I think that's all I got for the tournament. How about you, man? Any other
Yeah,
thoughts?
no, I don't have anything else beyond that, man. Like we've, it's nothing everybody else hasn't already said, but I'm just excited I think we just get some really premium matchups now. So, you miss out on some of the Cinderellas, you move off from that, but now you just get really good basketball. And it's not going to be NBA level for you NBA fans that look, and I'm an NBA guy. No, they're not making every shot. Yeah, dude, look, it's a different game. Enjoy it for what it is. These matchups are awesome, and they mean so much for these cities, towns, universities, etc.
Well, I know we're going to move off the tournament, but I do have for our next segment. I do have a quick story that I wanted to share. That is it pertains to the tournament, and it comes from our lovely Arizona Wildcats 247 page. So I think you'll enjoy this one, dude. Somebody shared that they waited too long to eat an edible. All right. The story goes, I'd like to apologize to all Wildcat fans. During the season, we were undefeated when I ate an edible before watching a game. So obviously the plan was to repeat this before all of our NCAA tournament games. I had a long-standing meeting at tip-off, so I didn't eat the edible before the game. Thank God. Rather, I attended the meeting while sitting on the couch and having the game on in the background. During this meeting, we were not playing well. Meeting ends. Rest of the day is obviously freed up for games. Score, LBSU up 35-34. Very worried. Then went and got my edible, ate it. We score 16 straight points and cruised to victory while feeling the effects for the latter part of the second half and for a long time after. We might not have won because of the edible, but the evidence was pretty overwhelming. Anyway, for the rest of the tournament, I'll be sure to eat the edible before tip-off. It's the least I can do. Bear down. How are we feeling, Henny?
Feeling like 3:58 on Thursday. This guy better be on his shit. I think that's exactly what we're up to, man. Look, everybody's got to pull the rope, man. Everybody's got to pull the rope. So whatever you think you're doing, whatever you think works, whatever the magic is, let's keep it going, Cats.
Number one, if you have any kind of pool on that meeting and you scheduled it during the Cats game, shame on you. All right. Come on, and second of all, yeah, you better go get your dispensary treats a little earlier and have them ready to go. And who knows, I've taken my fair share of edibles before. That meeting can't be too long. Eat the edible at the beginning of the game and during the meeting, and it probably won't hit until after the meeting anyway, right, Henny?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be an edible doctor. I'm not going to be out here prescribing exactly what the timing is on edibles. I'm pretty sure that's a pretty wide-ranging endeavor. I don't know what you ate, what you drank. Are we talking 10? Are you doing a 5, a little 2Z, a 25? I'm not sure what you're up to, man, but the dedication, that's what we need from everybody. Again, just as long as we're all giving our best, and whatever you think. And look, trust me, I'm sitting there at the game on Saturday, and you better believe we had some weird stuff going on. Hey, did you just take a sip of that before you hit that 3? I need you to take another sip of that again when the ball comes down back this way. I mean, we were all getting weird, right? We're screaming at everything. It's just, this is what it's all about, man. This is what it's all about. So, and if it's got to be an edible, you got to get that thing down.
I just love our fans, bro. I love the community that we live in. We talked about Tucson earlier and how great it is to go watch a game live. But if you choose to be in the creature comforts of your own home enjoying an edible, just make sure you go ahead and eat that before the game. So that we can go on that 30-4 run like our man back day, Ray, said. So perfect. That's what I got for Message Board Warriors. It's back. It's strong. Now we're going to go into our next favorite segment. Yes, the segment where you get to see all the dumb shit that Henny and I share to each other 5 minutes before the show. Just kidding. We share it all week, but sometimes
It's a little both.
rough.
Let's be honest. It's a little both sometimes. Sometimes we're like, I don't know, we share that. Here's the deal, guys. We like share a lot of stuff, but then we're like back and forth commenting. It gets messy. So we got to get in the right inbox. And then there's like a re-editing of what really needs to be in there. So, not to get too deep into it, but
let's start with this one. Jonte Porter, former Mizzou, just great, is being investigated by the NBA because of prop betting irregularities around the Raptors games that he was part of. My favorite comment about this, by the way, and I know you shared this, so I'll let you speak on it, but somebody said the NBA for sure knew something was up whenever somebody was parlaying Jonte Porter games on DraftKings.
No, I think that's the story. I think you nailed it. But this dude left with like a sore eye, a weird nose thing. It's not looking good. It's been a little weird on the gambling front, which, by the way, I'm kind of the belief, and I could be wrong, but I would guess that probably people have been on the take for quite some time. I don't think this is the first nor the last. I think we're seeing it now, and everybody's like, oh, but now DraftKings, oh, this. And I'm sure it's making it more prevalent. But gambling's not new. It's not new to sports. So let's not all just. I just worry about the waving of the finger of what I would quote unquote call the olds, and just relax. Like there's always been bad stuff. There's been bad stuff happening. Pete Rose happened. Blah blah blah. We can go on and on. We'll probably have more on this. Gambling may come up as another topic related to sports down the road, but I definitely find it. Certainly this guy, the sore eye kind of made me laugh. Like 4 minutes, checks in, his eye hurts, and then he leaves. Just made me laugh.
Yeah. All right, on to the next one. I'm not gonna lie. This is how I knew I wasn't the golf guy that I thought I was. I didn't know who Paige Spinarak was. So maybe you can enlighten me.
So for this one, is there a tweet previous to this to give it context first?
I mean, you don't want to just look at that, but yeah, here we go.
So people throwing this out there, I'm sure everybody's seen it. It's made the rounds. We kind of did the back and forth. Could there be a Happy Gilmore 2? Certainly that would be exciting. I personally am a little nervous. You're messing with a good thing, but a lot of people floating around the potential cast. Hey, she's got to bring Shooter back. Will Zalatoris as the caddy. Sydney Sweeney as cart girl. That's just abuse, and obviously just a bonk. Put Sydney Sweeney in. That's a win. I mean, that's fine. I have no complaints there. Tiger Woods is Chubbs, probably a bit of a reach. Paige Spiranek is the public relations lady. I don't think so, right? She's just really a golf influencer. She's a very good golfer, to her credit. She was a pro who just kind of turned into a little bit of an Instagram glamour girl, but she's still definitely promoting the game and playing golf, although she's well aware that she's utilizing her assets to also sell. We're a simple species, us men. And so good for her. But ultimately, what I would give her credit for is that she then posts this picture where she is basically posing as the public relations lady in The Dream of Happy Gilmore, which she had done a long time ago, and was basically saying, I was born ready for this. So just a huge credit to Paige for taking advantage of this and dunking on this opportunity, as she had already knocked it out of the park.
I don't know, dude. Are you nervous about this? That they may be doing a Happy Gilmore 2?
Yeah, I am, because I really think it's like a good thing, and I'm always worried that somehow it's going to taint it. I will say to that end, though, I don't look at Dumb and Dumber any differently. I just don't watch the other ones. I just love Dumb and Dumber. So, if you want to take a swing at it, Adam, you're probably sitting up in the Catalinas right now. You spend a lot of time in the Tucson area. So if you're dreaming up Happy Gilmore 2 and happen to be catching the jump shots from the goal line airwaves tonight, go for it, brother.
I hope he shoots it in Tucson. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, dude, he, like you said, he's here all the time.
Oh, dude. Randolph North is built for this film.
Here's the thing with this, dude. I feel like with these kind of reboots and these whatever you want to call it, it is exactly like this. They bring in all the big talent because everybody wants in on a good thing. And it kind of takes away the nuance of the original film. The thing that made Happy Gilmore terrific was yes, Adam Sandler was pretty famous by that point off SNL, but the rest of the cast, you didn't have huge names, right? Like Christopher McDonald as Shooter McGavin, he wasn't really anybody, but Shooter McGavin is him. That is who he is. And then, I mean, Chubbs, yes, he was in Rocky, but he wasn't in he was in year too. I mean, he is Chubbs, right? Like when you start bringing in all these people, and this is probably a fake list anyway, but like I guarantee if they do a Happy Gilmore 2, it will be similar to this. It kind of takes away from the nuance of it.
You may have to sit down for this though, Dugan. Chubbs will not be being recasted in his role.
I know he's dead.
Yeah, okay. Just checking. Okay, just wanted to make sure. I didn't want you to get too
RIP.
excited for Chubbs.
No, I mean if Tiger is Chubbs Peterson Jr., that will be sick as hell. I'm here for it. That is
That's
fine.
not
We can do that. I know it's not happening.
Yeah.
Tiger's above that. But if they want to get Harold Varner, that'd be cool. Like I'm down with that. You know, we've met him.
I mean, look, if you want to go, there's no way, none of these people, like Shooter will be back, Adam Sandler will be back, and then the rest is all jokes. But you know, it was good nonetheless. Again, shout out to Paige though for already she's already done the outfit. She's already ready. She's already seeing the vision. She's so engulfed in golf that she didn't miss a Happy Gilmore opportunity, and I commend her for it.
Yeah. All right. The next one, another one that you sent. Let me go ahead and play it.
What do you?
All right. If it'll play. Love this for a live pod that doesn't want to play. Anyway.
You know, I can read it.
Yeah.
Basically, it's
freaking EBTS Wi-Fi over here.
Kesha with a wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy. And then we just get a me. What exactly do you mean?
By Drewski.
Yeah, by Drewski. And your thoughts on P. Diddy?
You know, this has come up in the Dugan household a couple times because my wife is just a, pop culture fiend. I don't know if you saw it too. His house got raided today. His two sons are under arrest, and P. Diddy is nowhere to be found. And people are tracking his flights like it's a white Bronco on the freeway.
It is one of the best flight tracker situations outside of the coaching turnover season, the coaching carousel, if you will. So always love a good flight tracker. Excited to have a flight tracker back in the game. This is only a small sampling of what's going on P. Diddy Twitter. P. Diddy Twitter is by far the best Twitter going right now. If you want to just scroll aimlessly and giggle for 30 minutes, I highly suggest you jump on any of the P. Diddy train. There's literally 50 million jokes that are all hilarious, including him writing the album No Way Out. Whatever you want to do.
Pause. Can't say jump on the P. Diddy train because that's probably a real thing.
Good point. Fair's fair, my man. Fair's fair.
RIP to Kid Cudi's car, though. If you guys are in the know, that sucks. All right, the next one, because the hip drop tackle was passed or not passed, but they got rid of it. Holy shit, that made me jump too. Oh my god. I quit playing, not thinking he was gonna play. And then that fucking the gun holy shit. I
like that.
All right, let's try this one more time. Holy shit. That got me bad, dude. I feel so bad for whoever's listening to this with headphones.
Yeah, long and short of this one, for those of you just listening along, is, it's the how to tackle Derrick Henry in the new NFL, which, plain and simple, all I really wanted to ask you about, Dugan, is what do you think about not being able to tackle anymore?
Yeah, I think it's a giant psyop from the Baltimore Ravens because this got passed because Mark Andrews got tackled in that Bengals game on Thursday night and fractured his ankle because of hip drop tackle. And then they went out and signed Derrick Henry, the one guy you should be able to hip drop tackle, and now you can't. 2,000 yards on the way, buddy. That's what I think. 2,000 yards on the way.
Yeah, I mean, the signing looks better. I mean, it looks at least 5%, 10%, 20% better. And I guess hammer the overs? I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's crazy, though. The game that you and I grew up watching is not the game that is going to be here in 5 years. Every year they take away something. It's absolutely insane. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it is a far cry from what it was. And it's interesting. They know they got us, and I guess we'll all be, schlepping back up the slop, come fall. But this one just seems wild. I mean, we'll have to see it in action. So I'll politely refrain for now, but it seems interesting.
I just don't get it. I mean, look, it took out one of my favorite Ravens. So, like, at the time, I'm like, yeah, that seems like a dirty tackle. And then you take a moment, you go touch grass, and you understand, like, no, it's not really dirty. I just don't get it. Like, because the whole thing with a hip drop is like you're tackling to where your hip drops and you land on their legs. Well, like, dude, if somebody's ahead of you and you're trying to tackle them, how else are you supposed to land? Like, you're not intentionally landing on somebody's legs. It just so happens to be it's like the whole thing that they passed a few years ago about when you sack a quarterback, you can't put all your body weight on them.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I get the excessive force type of stuff, but this just doesn't feel like that. Again, we'll see how it's policed, but more discretion and more subjectivity and officiating, I don't think is what anybody wants in anything.
I'm still shook right now from that freaking gun going off
Yeah,
directly
so
into my
sorry. Yeah, so sorry for the gun violence you heard in your ears. Maybe
yeah.
next time I'll pick a little more audio friendly clip. My bad.
Yeah, if y'all are driving down the 10 and this clip goes off, I hope you're safe.
Which, by the way, I'm
Um,
normally just rifling through the 10,000 versions of the same joke, so I just pick a singular one to keep the topic going. So now I know maybe gunplay is not the move.
all right, on to the next. We did mention we'd be talking about gambling again. Well, Shohei Otani's been talking about gambling all week, maybe longer, just in Japanese. Obviously, his translator is been fired, maybe going to prison. I thought this tweet was great. Full transcript of Otani's presser, and they put the tweet from Phil Mickelson. Haven't gambled in years, almost a billionaire now. Thanks for asking. Ah, Phil, you son of a bitch. We know you're still gambling. Just probably the same way with Shohei, right, John?
Yeah, so I don't know what your thoughts are, but my immediate thoughts on this is that Otani's full of shit and that he's gambling. I mean, again, I don't really. This kind of falls under. I don't know that I really care that much. I don't know if this really affects the game. Certainly, there is like a line that can be crossed here that does make it a little bit more nefarious. But ultimately, I would guess that this guy's just been gambling a lot on, other things, maybe even betting on himself. I don't know, but I don't get the suspicion that he's like throwing games or doing anything above and beyond in that regard. But ultimately, it does seem a little weird that a guy who's, as I understand it, making $200,000 a year, has $4.5 million in gambling debt, is seen kind of enjoying and hanging out his time with Otani, which, hey, people have been known to be fake around people before. Not completely out of question, but again, doesn't necessarily align. I think it's hilarious that he at some point had to go into the locker room, this interpreter, and just be like, "Hey guys, can I give a quick?" And Mookie Betts is like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" And he's like, "I was gambling, and it's definitely not Otani. It was like me." And like they're like, "Yeah, dude, shut up, dude. We're trying to like," and then like this whole thing is just completely wild, and I'm having a hard time really wrapping my head around like what could possibly be going on outside of what we kind of think is going on.
Dude, they literally treated him like a child. The translator, like, I literally took my daughter to a funeral, R.I.P. to my wife's grandma, but she was acting out in the funeral, and like she may or may not have accidentally spit on the person behind her. And I literally took my daughter outside, talked to her, and then brought her in and told her to apologize. That is exactly what the Los Angeles Dodgers made.
Yeah.
Shohei Otani's translator do.
Right.
Go into the locker room, apologize, and take full responsibility.
And then I don't know, like maybe it's working a little bit what they're doing because like I heard someone say like I don't know, like that guy does seem pretty sketchy now, and I'm like, well, now did he always seem sketchy to you, or does he seem sketchy now that Otani's saying he's a thief? Like,
Yeah,
did he
what?
always seem sketchy? Didn't he? Like he's been in this. I don't know, man.
I
This
love this.
is messy. But I said from the moment this came out that I didn't think baseball was going to let them touch their golden boys. So I'm guessing this works out for him just fine. But yuck.
Yeah, I love this tweet too, though. What if Otani comes out in his statement and shocks the world, just drops a "I fucking gambled it all, baby. Love me some gambling."
Yeah. And again, I would have been all right. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm not we're here to laugh about this stuff. I'm not here to sweat all this stuff all the time or like play like the morality police when it comes to sports. Like it's a stupid game. It's very glass house throwing stone situation. It's always going to end up with egg on your face on your team, your guys, this, that. You like this one time, you don't like it when it doesn't work for you. I just know whatever Ohtani's doing isn't really adding up for me.
Yeah, I did love that somebody already put a camera in front of Pete Rose's face, and what he had to say was, "Yeah, I wish I would have had a translator."
Yeah, which is hilarious. Yeah, the Pete Rose one translator away from the Hall of Fame is a pretty good line. There's like the jokes are endless here. It's good. There's like obviously that really great snapshot already where it's like Ohtani standing next to Bet, so it's like Ohtani bets, and they're like, yeah, he does. There's a lot of good stuff coming out of this. So remember, not the train, but if you're just looking at P Diddy, that's probably 1A, but Ohtani right now 1B.
Yeah. All right, let's go to another great sports story. This isn't Message Board Warriors, but it should have been. Obviously, Trevor Etienne, brother of Travis, got a DUI over the weekend because that's just what Georgia players do. And if you go over to UGAsports.com, somebody had the audacity to say, let's kick Etienne off over a bullshit law designed to increase state revenue. That's one way to look at a DUI, buddy, for sure.
Yeah. And again, I'll just say that, again, don't really care. Not going to play morality police, but also that seems like a little bit of a wild statement.
Yeah. And then we have a few other people. Just a part of the hazing process to make it a team. Nothing to see here.
Yeah. That's the approach there. Let's brush it.
That's somebody else. He's 100% a dog now. And then we really need Uber to become an NIL sponsor.
Yeah, there we go. That's more in line. But I mean, hey, don't change Georgia. Like, fucking bullshit laws.
Absolutely insane. And then this is the last one we'll go over. You sent this one because we already talked about the Crackers of March. We don't need to look at that one. But
don't play this. Don't suffer through all this. Is like minutes long, but it's whatever this like Tiger Golf League thing is. And so I just really wanted to bring it up, and it's probably a good chance to mention our guys at Tasty, who have flavor down to a T. They're the flavored tea guys. If you don't understand when you're out there golfing and you're looking for that little pop of flavor, but you also have a functional golf tea, this is exactly what the Tasties are for. Meanwhile, as it relates to this story and whatever you're watching in this commercial thing of cartoons, Dugan, is they've created some sort of what they seem to think is cool golf. And maybe it is. Maybe it's awesome. What I can definitely tell you after watching this video and given what we know about LIV and the PGA and where all that's at and seeing things like the match and the come up of YouTube golf, is it's just more continuation of I have no idea what golf's going to look like in 10 to 20 years. Because this cartoon is like absolutely absurd. Like now the concept wasn't that crazy. It was basically like we have some team play, then we get into an individual component, but then we go into a super arena for like I don't know what's going on. It's like a really weird cartoon, but I don't know. Golf's just going to be interesting. I guess I'm just going to hold steadfast on like please give me the 4 majors, and then whatever you want to do to color outside the lines in the meantime is probably fine, but. I'm really looking forward to Augusta, and even though those uptight sons of guns are a little treat of their own, it really is just the best golf.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're right. It's not our father's game anymore, bro. It's not our father's game.
No,
they're out here making money, bro.
It's every next single golf thing is just more interesting than the last thing. I'm like, we're doing what?
Yeah.
And it continues.
Speaking of Tasties, though, I can't wait to break out my little bag of Tasties. The wife for my birthday this weekend got me a $100 gift card to 49ers. So, hey, that's as much of an excuse to go out there and hit the links as I can think of. So let me know when you're down and we'll go break out the Tasties like true gentlemen.
Always down to hit the 49er. And for those out in the neighborhood, they've expanded the clubhouse, added a new bar. The members are thrilled.
I'm sensing we're going to have ourselves a Saturday where we go play atrocious for 18 holes and go have a few beers afterwards.
All different forms of Tasties.
but we're not going to take the Trevor Etienne route. We will make sure that we are doing it responsibly.
Correct.
Yes. All right, man. That's all I got. I'm excited for this week of games. Obviously, you guys want to make sure you're following us. We're putting out content weekly. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, whatever it is. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're listening to us, make sure, again, I apologize for the gunshots earlier. But hey, with that being said, forget all that. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button on Apple, on Spotify, wherever. But also follow us on social, right? Follow us on X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We're on all of it. Make sure you guys are following our content, following along. And hey, send this out to a buddy, send it out to a friend, send it out to a relative, whoever, a coworker. Let them know, hey, I listened to this really great podcast. They talk about just some wild ass things like P. Diddy and some sports also. And I think you would like them. Shoot them over the link and help us grow our following so we can go do more cool things. John, you got any other closing words?
No. Thanks for the comments back to A-Ray. Thanks for keeping them coming tonight. And to the rest of you followers, just appreciate you as always. Continue to share the message, just like our boy at Dugan Football says so.
Yep. And bear the hell down. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.